Christmas is right around the corner. Well, depending on when you're watching this. I thought it would be rather fitting to cover something that aligns with both the holidays and horror. And I am glad to say that I have found the perfect tale to tell. Most everyone knows about the old Christmas story of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, but in case you do not, I'll give you a very quick rundown. The story's protagonist is a rich, selfish old man named Ebenezer Scrooge. Scrooge hates Christmas and everything surrounding it. Despite his riches, he never donates, and despite being in a town filled with joy, he is still resentful. On Christmas Eve, 3 spirits visit him in his sleep and show him visions of his younger years, the consequences of his actions, and terrifying future events, such as Scrooge's inevitable death. When Scrooge wakes up from this supernatural nightmare, he realizes how valuable life truly is. He swiftly changes his way of thinking and goes around on Christmas Day to remediate his previous selfish actions. And from that day forward, his mindset and the way he celebrates the holidays was changed. Most interpretations of this story are quite tame. I had previously seen many different films and shows with their versions of this tale, which made me realize that visual adaptations of this tale could be horrifying if it fell into the right hands. And eventually, it did. On December 31st of 2020, a video was posted to YouTube titled Boozoo's Ghosts. Now, before any of you fall out of your chairs, yes, this was made by Martin Walls, the same person who created the Walton Files. Highly recommend giving that a watch, because it's fucking awesome. Now, Boozoo's Ghosts takes the story of A Christmas Carol and transforms it into this nightmare fuel of a scenario. How so? Let's take a look. The video starts with some cheery music and black and white visuals of Christmas times. A narrator's voice is heard praising the holidays before showing us the Scrooge of this story.
So the story I'm going to tell you now is about a very old man named Boozoo. He was selfish, greedy, rude, filled with anger, and most importantly, he hated Christmas. But on this story, Boozoo will get to see the true meaning of this wonderful holiday.
The narrator goes on to explain that Boozoo owns a shop that sells toys. It is implied that he owns multiple stores that generate a good sum of money, particularly around Christmas time, which is when this story takes place. In fact, this story takes place on Christmas Eve. Well, also a little bit of Christmas Day as well. It was like every other day in Boozoo's shop. One of his workers by the name of Banny was cleaning the shop like usual when she accidentally hit a mug with the broom handle and caused it to fall and shatter against the ground. Immediately, Boozoo scolds her for this and deducts her payment for that day.
But sir, it's Christmas Eve! How am I supposed to feed my family now?
Not my problem. Besides, I don't believe in all that Christmas garbage. Now get back to work. I don't pay you for nothing.
You're not gonna pay me, sir.
Get back to work!
Later on in the night, Boozoo hears his door ring. After opening it, there is this kid who is raising money for the poor people on Christmas. She asks him if he'd like to donate. Boozoo, who is the Scrooge of this story, I assume is just gonna turn her away with a selfish response. What the fuck? He steals from the tip jar that was intended to help poor people on Christmas Eve. Not only is he inconsiderate, stingy, and rude, but he is also a criminal. From my knowledge, the only other version of this tale where he is a thief is the Disney version. It is fascinating that you can take a character like the Scrooge and somehow make him even more insufferable. After taking the cash out of the donation jar, he holds it up high and announces,
"This is my store. I can do anything I want. Besides, I I'm not going to give a single cent for this stinking holiday.
The girl rightfully calls him a greedy and selfish old man, and he replies by slamming the door in her face. It cuts to an even later part of the night where he is seen getting ready for bed, but right before he's able to get some shut-eye, he doesn't even bother to get up and check out what that noise was. Furthermore, he chooses to sleep with his door wide open. Disregarding the noise he heard, he lays back and eventually falls asleep. He's awakened by this odd amalgamation of musical notes. These sounds seem to be coming from a different room of his house. He gets out of bed and walks out into the darkness, trying to find out where that sound is coming from, and he's met with Christmas decorations.
Where did all this come from? I don't even celebrate. Wait a second. Gifts? From who?
After seeing these 3 mysterious Christmas gifts, his curiosity does get the better of him, and he goes to open the one on the far left.
Huh. A little clown toy.
The room is suddenly dimmed out and fades into darkness, while a giant white door with a clown face on it appears in front of him. Buzu gets really pissed off and thinks this is a prank, but he is silenced whenever he hears
What?
After opening the door and walking inside, he treads along in the darkness, trying to call out to whoever is making that sound. But then, out of the darkness, appears this red and white gift.
Hello. Come closer. Come closer.
Buzu, a gift is talking to you. You gotta leave. You gotta go. The gift box opens by itself, and the same clown that was shown on the front of the door arises from it. And Buzu gives the most realistic reaction I have ever heard.
Who was... What are you?
The clown tells Buzu that he is the sad ghost of past experiences, and that he is here to show Buzu just that. Oh, fuck. And that he is here to show Buzu just that. The past. Buzu asks why, and the clown responds by saying that Buzu is a bad person. He tells him that he is a liar, a thief, and selfish. Buzu tries to deny these claims, but the clown tells him not to lie to him.
I'm not lying to you.
I don't want to hear you laugh. You don't want to hear me cry.
Hey, can you stop killing the flowers, please?
Let's do each other a favor and accept your regrets. Let's do each other a favor and accept your mistakes.
When the song ends, the ghost tells him that he needs to accept his wrongdoings. But, expectedly, Buzu responds by saying,
I don't need to accept any...
Because of your past.
The clown then goes on to remind Buzu that his childhood was bland. Nobody gave him any gifts during Christmas whenever he was a kid, which led him to not celebrate Christmas and develop a disdain for it. He tells him that his past can bleed into his future, which is exactly the case with him. But he also says that there is still time to fix his mistakes. And of course, this is what Buzu had to say about that.
I don't have to fix anything.
Stop lying.
I'm not lying.
Don't lie to me.
I'm telling the truth. That was very scary.
No shit! Then, just like with the first ghost, he hears this odd sound coming from outside of his room. Except, oddly enough, the door to his bedroom is now closed. The room morphs into complete darkness, similarly to how it did beforehand, and the door is now white, with a photo of a yellow sheep on it. Just like with the other door, he enters it, and it leads into complete darkness.
Jesus Christ!
He walks further into the room and keeps seeing all of these creepy toys all over the floor, but then he looks forward and sees a doll of himself.
Hello? I was told you were going to visit me. Who are you?
She finally tells him that she is the jolly ghost of present times, and that she is going to show him the consequences of his actions.
What do you mean by my actions?
Oh, old man. I am your mirror, the reflection of your own flaws, the living representation of your own greed. Except I'm nowhere near as ugly.
Damn! She then goes on to show him through this little screen the consequences of his actions in the present. It first shows some black and white photos of Christmas, but then it shows this. It's a photo of Banny and her family. And since Buzu did not pay her because she accidentally broke that mug, she isn't able to feed her family on Christmas, or even buy them any gifts. Buzu says that he did not want this, but the ghost tells him it doesn't matter. His actions have already affected them.
Eventually, everything will be gone, as it should. It's a beautiful cycle of self-destruction.
But
You've already wasted most of your time. You should think about what to do with the little time you have left.
Buzu pauses for a second and notices two small gifts on the floor with eyes peering out of them. After asking what's inside the boxes, the ghost replies by saying,
Oh, you'll see.
It turns out that inside of the presents was these two, the representation of ignorance and want. The ghost tells him that they are dying because of him. In most retellings of A Christmas Carol, either the ghost of Christmas Present or Ignorance and Want will regularly talk in phrases that the Scrooge has used himself. Now, in Buzu's Ghosts, Ignorance and Want, instead of using Buzu's previous words to form coherent sentences, they speak like this.
I don't need to accept
Which, if you do pay attention, it actually is just a bunch of mishmashes of what Buzu has said previously. They keep doing this jammed speech until Buzu is practically shouting at them, begging them to stop. For a moment, they do stop, and they're both given these really creepy looking faces, and shortly after that happens, they just start melting. Buzu pleads with the ghost of the present, asking her to not let them die.
Your actions are out of my control, old man. This is it. It's your turn.
My turn?
Buzu is once again cast into the darkness with nobody around him. He begins to hear a bell toll in the distance, the type you'd normally hear during a funeral service.
Oh no. Oh God, please, no! Huh?
The bells abruptly stop before Buzu hears a slightly out-of-tune, slowed-down piano coming from a room in the distance. Eventually, Buzu does make his way over to that room and cannot find the source of that shadowy figure. While standing in the room, he notices this ticking sound, almost like a clock. He walks around the room trying to find the source of the sound and finds this little rabbit toy.
What's this doing here?
Hello, Buzu.
Are you the third ghost?
I am mortality.
Oh shit! Buzu tells him that he is not ready to die, but Mortality laughs at him and says that nobody is ready. Buzu begins to cry and plead with him, but Mortality tells him,
It's far too late for that, old man. You're running out of time. Which reminds me, we don't have any more time to wait. For you see, your future awaits behind this door.
Please tell me. Am I going to be okay?
with nothing else left to do, he opens the door and steps in. Buzu is brought right back to where he was before he deducts Benny's pay.
Oh, thank God. Everything's back to normal. Oh, everything is okay now. Oh, Benny. Oh, you don't know how glad I am to see you. Benny?
Oh, hey, boss. I was wondering where you were. It's good to see you're okay.
Benny? 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 What's going on? Kid! Oh God! You need to help me! Please! I need to...
Instead of handing Buzu a tip jar, she hands him a piece of paper. Buzu grabs it, reads it, and realizes that it's a funeral arrangement. For him.
What? What does this mean? Don't touch me!
Buzu runs away and backs himself into a corner. The room begins to turn into this melting mass of darkness, almost like tar dripping from the ceiling. He shouts in terror and yells to make it stop, but then it goes quiet, and Buzu notices Mortality standing outside of his window. Buzu begins to sob again, just pleading for everything to stop and for him to just go home. Mortality emerges out of the darkness and tells him that his ignorance is why he is here. Before Buzu can say anything else, he is cut off by a child's voice. The kid turns out to be none other than Buzu himself, which Mortality swiftly kills before Buzu can do anything about it. After this, all three of the ghosts join around. Buzu tries to signal for the first ghost, the one from the past, but is met with no response from him. But he is granted a response from Mortality.
Everyone is here to see your demise.
What are you going to do?
Mortality hands Buzu one last gift. He takes it, opens it up, and sees Christmas morning, a morning that everyone is excited to wake up on. Except for one guy. The narrator goes on to say that Buzu was found like that the next morning. Holy shit. There was no explanation for his death, and the narrator nonchalantly scoots past that before telling us the importance of being kind and celebrating Christmas.
And thus, our story ends. Hope this teaches all of you little children a lesson. Be nice and always think about others. You wouldn't want 3 ghosts to visit you during Christmas, would you? Of course not. Hope all of you had a fun time listening to the story, and I'll see all of you some other day. Goodbye, and Merry Christmas.
Ah, you know, it's a very heartfelt message, my friend. Scoot it back a bit, though. How the fuck are the authorities going to explain that? No explanation for his death. You know, he was in his early 70s. Could have been natural causes. Natural causes? It looks like a radiator fell on his face. You gotta look into that more, dude. Anyways, that was Buzu's Ghosts. What I consider to be one of the most terrifying versions of A Christmas Carol. Something I appreciate about Buzu's Ghosts is the moral of the story, in a way, is significantly different from the usual tellings of A Christmas Carol. The big message in most instances is usually stuff like this. All humans have the opportunity to behave in kinder ways. Only pursuing money will not make you happy, or the value of becoming more kind will guide you to a better life. Now, one thing these quotes seem to have in common is that they are taught to us at the end of the tale, where Scrooge goes around and redeems himself from his former bad actions. But with Buzu's Ghosts, Scrooge, or Buzu in this case, dies before the chance of redemption. There is a big consequence for the bad shit this man did. Thus, the theme changes. You gotta ask yourself, what would be the bigger meaning behind A Christmas Carol if Scrooge died in his sleep on Christmas Day? Now, this can be interpreted in many different ways depending on how far you want to look into it, but I took it more like this. If you're a horrible person your whole life, you'll die alone with nobody caring about you. Or some actions may never be forgiven. Now, of course, many different brains can view this in opposing ways. This is mainly the way I see it. With this being said, do you think Buzu deserved to die? I'm a little bit conflicted on my stance. I can give you a couple of reasons as to maybe why he did. Many viewers think that after he lied 5 times to that first ghost, that his fate was already sealed. I originally thought this as well, but after deciphering what that first ghost told him, because on my first watch I couldn't tell what the fuck he said, it did seem like Buzu had more chances. Unfortunately, by technicality, he didn't exactly take advantage of that. After Buzu meets Mortality, he apologizes several times, but Mortality simply brushes it off and laughs at him. I think mainly Mortality did this because Buzu isn't saying anything more than just sorry. Many other versions of the Scrooge actually do give a very heartfelt and genuine apology. The same cannot be said for Buzu. Throughout the whole event, he doesn't exactly take accountability for his actions. He instead pleads with the ghost to make everything stop or to do something to make him go back home. It's as if he only cared what would happen to him more than he cared or felt remorseful about his wrongdoings. But then another part of me thinks that he was doomed from the very start. If you go back to the very beginning and rewatch the scene where Buzu says that he will not be paying Banny, you can already see Mortality staring at him through the window. Yeah, go back and check. You can see him. So it is not unfair to think that he might have just been finished before he even began. I'm most likely looking a bit too far into it, but it's these little things that can lead us to interpret this in so many different ways. Like, for example, a lot of people think that Buzu's Ghosts is a parallel to the Walton Files. And there is a ton of evidence to back this up. Which, you know, I could get into that, but I'd be here all fucking day. But regardless, I like Buzu's Ghosts. I know it's not perfect, and if it was remade today, it would be 1,000 times better, but there's just something so cool to me about being able to take an old tale with a heartwarming ending and a good-spirited theme, and transforming it into a horrific scenario with a theme that is way more blunt. Not only does it drive home the theme in a much more striking fashion, but it's also unique. Most fables and fiction stories have good endings, so to see that be flipped on its head, I must admit, is very refreshing. Buzu's Ghosts was made quite a while ago. At the time of making this, the video is approaching its 4th year of being up on YouTube. If you've watched any of the more recent creations from Martin on that channel, you can instantly tell that Martin and the team have made significant advances in the art style, sound design, backgrounds, animation, and overall everything. Recently, they made a 33-minute sequel to a Halloween special they had made years prior, titled The Mysterious House. Be sure to go and watch those. However, I heard from someone that the entire sequel took around 1 month to fully make. If that is true, wow! Now, why am I mentioning this? Well, ever since that video was released, many fans have been left wondering if Martin and his team will do a remake, or perhaps even a sequel, of Buzu's Ghosts. The answer to that question is still very much in the air. From what I found, it just looks like any new iterations of Buzu's Ghosts were just ideas. And that's all they ever were. I think the team's main focus for right now is the Walton Files. With that being said, there is still potential for something like this to be made. A lot of fans want it to happen, so it might happen. If you are from the future, tell me if they made it. Alright, I think I have just about wrapped this video up. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to show support to my channel. If you believe that there is a version of this tale that is more terrifying than the one I showed you today, be sure to comment down below. I know for a fact that there are some very strong contenders. Anyways, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. It's been me, Wazerbite, and I will see all of you next year. I'm sorry, I had to.